Hi, welcome to another video. My name is Brianna. I'm a musician based here in New York City. As the title says, we're gonna get a little vulnerable on this channel right here, right now. We're gonna be talking about my dating experience here in New York City. Spoiler, not good. What are you gonna do? You live and you learn. And maybe my takeaway from this is don't date in this city. Anyway, instead of just like sitting down and talking to you about my crappy dating life, you are going to help me make snickerdoodles. And by help me, I mean keep me company while I do the work. We are doing this at my dining table. We could do it in the kitchen, but it's very cramped in there and the oven is preheating, so it's also very hot. This, I can actually have the window open and the fan going. Yes, it is February. I am that weirdo that has the fan on during the winter. It gets hot. New York radiators, that is not something you mess with. So first things first, we gotta separate our dry ingredients from our wet ingredients. Now I'm trying to figure out how am I gonna do this at the same time because I have ADHD and I have anxiety. So me trying to do multiple things at once, I don't know why I did this. Now I'm nervous. Let me measure out the flour and get that out of the way. I should not put the flour right next to my computer. Let's think things through. One of the first guys I dated in New York, I went to a friend's show. One of the guys that she was performing with, she was like, Brianna, you guys should meet. Like making it like very obvious. She like literally pushed us together. It was very wild. And I went on one date with that guy. On the first date, he was all right. And I was like, yeah, let me just go on a date again. We'll see if I feel like it'll go anywhere. I remember asking questions during the date and something wasn't quite lining up. He seemed kind of young. And at that time, I was 28. And I was just like, wait, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 26. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And he's like, yeah, I'm 26. I live with a couple of other creatives. Like I live with an artist and a photographer. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't ask for information. He just gave that up willingly. And then I asked him where he was in New York, that he lived with his roommates because he was originally from New York. So your parents are close by? He's like, yeah, they're about an hour and a half away. And I'm like, but y'all are in the same borough? And he's like, yeah, I mean, so I was just like, that's a little weird, but we finished the day, went home. I was like, okay, that was, he was still pretty charming. We were setting up the next date. I just finished having dinner with my bosses when I was still teaching music, and I was having like such a good time. We went to this like really awesome Malaysian restaurant. It was so good.
It was in a romantic comedy. Change anything? Yes, they do.
On my way home on the bus, I get a text from the guy, and he was like, I'm 23 and I live with my parents. And I was just like, and I'm one of those people, if I'm nearing 30 or in my 30s, I don't want to date somebody too much younger than me. Somebody in their early 20s, I'm like, this feels weird, because we're in two different like parts of life. Like it's not doing what you think it's doing. Plus it's creepy. I don't want to be a female Leonardo DiCaprio. Like no. I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. I don't think this is where, I think this is gonna end here. And him being a fellow musician was like, oh, okay, I understand. But I have a show next week, here are the details if you want to come. It'd be awesome. The tickets are like $10 to $15. I was like, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. So that was the first foray, and that should have signaled something to me right then, but I didn't listen. I dated a few guys and it didn't really go anywhere, and I was just like, oh, maybe the dating app thing is not for me. But I went on this date with this guy, Alex. We hit it off right away. Chemistry flying off the handles. He would try to be upfront. He's like, oh, just for full transparency, my ex asked me if I could watch her guinea pig for the next week. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. People can be adults and break up and still be friendly towards each other. That is totally fine. My thing is, though, we dated pretty much the whole summer, but he would have these moments of like being hard to reach. And I'd be like, hey, is everything okay? He's like, oh, yeah, work was just busy. I was like, okay, still want to hang out? Oh, yeah. We would go on dates and stuff like that. And then again, he would like disappear for a few days. I was like, are you sure everything's okay? Like, because if you want to date somebody else, you can just go. Don't drag me along. You can just be upfront and we can just be done with it. But no, everything, things are just really busy. That's all. You want to hang out tonight? Right when it turned to September, radio silence. And then I finally met up with him. I was like, what's been going on? He's like, I've just been really busy with work. And then the vibes were just super off. Like it was like pulling teeth, and I really should have just left, but no, I was just trying to make it work. Ugh, yikes. Self-esteem, y'all. Make sure you have some. I should have known that he really wasn't in it for real because he would not share much about his family or himself. He kept a lot of things very guarded. I would try to be open and everything and try and encourage him to be open with me, but he was just like not in it. And then I flat out asked him, we've been like together for the whole summer, like, are you seeing anybody else? And he's like, oh no. I was like, okay, and then do you think this is something that can turn into something serious? And he was just like, I don't know. Oh, he's like, do the whole, I like hanging out with you, da 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 da. And I'm like, man, you're older than I am. You need to be upfront. Enough of this messing around. I got sick with COVID, and that's my first time getting COVID. At this point, he was falling more and more distant and everything. The last thing I heard from him after I telling him I got COVID, I was like, I can't hang out right now or the next week, but hopefully when I feel better and I'm not positive and, you know, things have settled down, I can hang out again or whatever. All he sent back was a GIF that said, get well soon, and that was the last I heard from him. So, you know, awesome. Spending a whole summer with this guy. I could have like dated anybody else. And I think I did go on a date with somebody else during that time because I felt, I'm like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. I should have just ended it there, but I didn't. Low self-esteem. And then I dated this guy, and he was just really immature. I think I dated him for like a month, and then I was like, this is not gonna go anywhere. He's like, what? I'm like, yep, I just don't think we're a good match. And we weren't, because he was just like ridiculously immature. I was throwing a holiday party at my apartment. I just remember telling him to be like, you need to stop talking about this. It's like, you need to change the subject right now because you're making people uncomfortable. It was bad. And then finally I just broke up with him because I was like, I can't take this anymore. I dated this guy, Steve.
Jesus Christ.
Steve had a lot of problems. It almost took me down with him. It wasn't that he wasn't like ambitious enough or anything like that, but he was very much settled into his life. Because at the time he had like just turned 40. Things were going all right, but again, he was this weird distance. He would complain about his family, but I never met any of his family. We dated for like 2.5, 3 months. Never met any of his family. He met my friend. I never met one of his friends. And my friend Mark, Mark, friend of the channel, Mark asked him, because he was a little bit older than us, he was like, hey, so do you have any kids? And Steve told him no. And there was one moment that should have sent friggin' alarm bells off, but instead, I just stayed like an idiot. He was like, I think once you get to know me more, you won't like me. I'm talking and not cooking. And once again, I asked him, I was like, where do you see this going? Because like, are you dating anybody else? And he was like, no. It's like, well, neither am I. So I think we should like either define it or like cut it off. Then he agreed. He's like, yeah, you're pretty much my girlfriend. And I was just like, yes, I have got the title girlfriend.
But it means nothing. It means nothing.
That didn't mean anything with this man, because nary a month later, this man disappears for a week. And I'm like, what is going on? He literally is like, I'm just going through some things. You really shouldn't have to worry about it. Have fun in Europe. And I was like, no, this is not happening again. We're gonna talk. You're not gonna just brush me off like the last guy did. We are talking. And so finally he agreed that we were gonna meet at the park that was nearby my apartment. Literally, I'm leaving that day to go to Europe. Oh, Jesus Christ, it was like painful. When I say painful, it was painful. At that time, I was feeling really alone because like my friend, or someone who I consider my friend, my roommate at the time, we weren't really speaking to each other, and living in my apartment was really awkward, and I was just so frustrated, and I was just like, I can't, like, I'm so glad I'm leaving and I'm gonna be with friends, because I don't like my life in New York right now. It was like just an already hard time. This man breaks up with me in a park, surrounded by children playing. I've been dealing with a lot, I didn't want to drag you down with me. Like I told you, you weren't gonna like me once you got to know me, like really know me. And you mentioned that you wanted kids. I already have 3 kids. He never mentioned these kids.
What?
So I confronted him about the not telling me about the kids thing, and he said, well, I didn't want to bring them up because I'm not really in their life. I was like, oh my God, he's a deadbeat dad. He's a deadbeat, oh my God. And then For the next 5 or 10 minutes, he begins showing me pictures of his kids' Instagrams, and giving me each of their lore. And I was just like, okay, I gotta go. Because literally I was flying to Europe in 8 or 9 hours. Yes, he broke up with me right before I flew to Europe to go see friends. That was fun. The Europe thing was fun. It was like, I'm a single girl in Europe. The guy that just broke up with me is absolute trash. He was just garbage. And then he started mentioning this dumb crap at the end, like nearing the end of our conversation, being like, you know what? I think there'll be a moment where maybe we'll cross each other's paths in like Target or some store. I'll see you and you'll see me and we'll look at each other and smile.
We? We?
What? No, bitch. Sit on it and spin. Like, absolutely not. Look at you and smile. No. Men who torment me don't deserve a thing from me. I took a break. I was just like, wow, that sucked. Like, really bad. My pride was hurt. I'm like, damn, I'm an idiot. I'm so dumb. I'm missing a whole cup of flour. Jesus. I was like, why is this so goopy? Missing a whole cup of flour, that's why. Yeah, this is much better. This is much better. This is the consistency that I need. A few months later, I started dating this guy named Gordon, and we hit it off. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a breath of fresh air than what I normally get. He was very progressive and forward thinking, and he was very cute. He took care of himself. Like, it was like, oh, what a relief. And Gordon seemed way different than Steve. He had his shit together. He was like very much a gentleman. He really seemed like he had it together. And I was like, wow, I really like this guy. Like, I feel so safe. I feel like secure. This may actually go somewhere. Like, oh my God, this is different from what I've been experiencing.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Gordon had that thing that we like to call a trial period. He's nice for those first 3 weeks, and then after that, it's like a different animal. I baked him cookies. He gave them to his family, and he didn't tell them where the cookies came from. Because in his words, his parents didn't approve of him of dating non-Asian women. And so even though his like brother and sister-in-law and the rest of his family knew, he wouldn't tell his parents. That should have just signaled something right then. He's like, I don't want to tell them because I know how they're going to act, so it's just best not to get into it. And I'm like, okay. Once again, I didn't want to be alone, so here I am. Again, started doing that man thing where he was like, started acting a little bit cold, a little bit distant. He mentioned feeling overwhelmed from work or whatever, and I was like, here we effing go again. And he did have a stressful job with intense hours, but like at that time, I had a roommate, that awful roommate I told you guys about beforehand, whose boyfriend would drive from White Plains down to Brooklyn almost every day to come see her. And he had a really demanding job as well. We were still meeting up, but every time I saw him, he just looked like more and more like done. I would be so excited to see him, and that would not be reciprocated. We were about a month into dating. He was acting like really, not really distant, but just stressed out and distracted. On Friday morning, I'm getting ready for work. He had texted early that morning about 4 a.m. He usually at that time would get into work at 2. He worked really interesting, ridiculous hours. He sent me a text, I'm really stressed out and overwhelmed with like work and everything. I don't think I can continue dating. If you want, we can still be friends. I was looking at that first thing in the morning, and I remember just like trying not to cry on my way to work, and then getting to work and then still having to manage a team. My coworkers asked me, it's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, I just got broken up with, so I'm not doing great, but it's okay. Let's figure out what we're gonna do here today, guys. And I like was tearing up right then. Like my coworkers felt so bad for me. They got me those refreshers or whatever from Starbucks and a cookie. I must have just been like a basset hound type of pitiful. And I'm not eating all this. This is gonna go to work. Oh, it was so sweet of them. They really didn't have to do that, but I guess that's how like pitiful I looked, because I really liked this guy, but he didn't like me. Not enough, or at all, who knows. And I really should have just gotten into my head that this guy just didn't want to be with me. He was just trying to let me down easy. He's like, we can still be friends. And I'm like, yeah, because I really want you in my life and I really like being around you, da-da-da-da-da. We continued talking for a couple months. I had a family member get really, really sick and I had to be a caregiver, and I was letting Gordon know about this. He's like, oh, okay, all right, well, let me know if you need anything. I was still trying to talk to Gordon, but he kept getting more and more distant. And he checked in once, and then I like never heard from him. This was in November. And then finally I didn't hear from him for months. In January, I'm back on the dating apps reluctantly, and I'm like, oh God, I wish it could have made it, I wish that could have worked. And I see Gordon on these dating apps, and I was like, wait a second, he said he was just feeling overwhelmed with work. And I know he was trying to just let me down easy because he just was not interested in dating me. Like, I know, but it pisses me off because he could have just said, I don't think we're a good match for each other. Boom, done, over. But no, he wanted to, and the whole friends thing, if he didn't want to be around, he should have just said so instead of trying to get my hopes up. Anyway, I was like really pissed and like I was stressed out and I was tired. Yeah, thanks. And then I messaged him because I was just like, what the heck? Hey, my family member got sick and you disappeared. Like, what was that? He immediately got defensive and then he got ignorant. What do you mean? What did I do? I don't understand. How could I have done that? It was just like, wow, okay, that's what we're doing. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what did I do? I don't remember. I don't think I did anything wrong, but like, what are you saying? What did I do? I was in a position that I thought I'd never be in, which is texting paragraphs to a grown man on how to treat me. Oh boy. If you ever find yourself texting a grown man, in this case a man who was 40, texting a grown man how to treat you and how he made you feel, I want you to block him. I want you to put the phone down. I want you to walk away and I want you to go outside and I want you to go find a nice little place for gelato and I want you to sit in that place and have your gelato. And then I want you to go to the park and then I want you to go play chess. And after you're done playing chess with whatever friendly geriatric you find, I want you to go back to your home, wash your dishes, write a screenplay. There are so many other things that you could be doing with your life that will be infinitely better than using your time to text a grown man paragraphs because they're not going to get through to him at all. And as something I wish I had done, instead of wasting my day, my commute, part of the day at work and part of the commute going home, texting with this man. I blocked him when I was at work and then I started up again after I finished and after I told everybody I blocked him. Listen, I don't always make the best choices, y'all. I don't always make the best choices. Gordon was a trip because that first trial period, I was like, wow, this could go somewhere. And we're back to square one. We are back to square one.
What is it?
It's a human turd.
Is it burning? It's burning. Oh my god. It's burning. It's burning. Ah! It's burning. Guys, it's burning. Help me. What do I do? What do I do? How are you burning? See, talking about these men messing up my baking. Maybe I won't share this with people at work. Oh, look at this. I followed the recipe to a T. I don't understand. Did I put too much sugar? Like, I don't understand. And the inside is not done. I really took a break after the whole Gordon thing because that really just made me so angry and sad and frustrated. A few weeks go by, I meet up with this guy named Alex, another Alex. This time he's from Kazakhstan. He's because most of the guys I was dating were from New York, but he was from like another country. I'm like, well, maybe this will be different.
Girl. I mean, come on.
And we dated for like a few weeks and I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling with it. And I was talking to my therapist about it and she was like, basically, you've been dealing with a lot of high stakes drama from these men. So are you just feeling like you're missing out on the drama or do you really feel like there's no connection with this guy? And I'm like, I don't think I'm craving drama. I think I feel like there is no connection. And she's like, oh, okay. So I broke up with him and he was like, oh, okay, we can still chat and be friends. I'm like, yeah, sure. We would talk every now and again. He invited me to his cousin's birthday out in Queens. His cousin lived in this gorgeous house. It's beautiful. Family members and other friends would come by and celebrate her birthday. It was very cute. Something fell off though. One of his friends got like really drunk. And we had to help him home. Like his friend and him, they were also roommates. So I ended up just going with them because I was like way out of the way. By that time it was like 1 a.m. and I'm like, I'm not dealing with surge price like Lyft right now. I'll just wait till the morning. And then the next morning, he was waiting with me for my lift. And then he mentions, he's like, I think we do get along really well, and I think we could really help each other out, and I think we should think about getting married. What? I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, getting married, for the documents. I could help you with your album. No, you're not about to manipulate me, bitch. You will not do that. I was like in shock, and I was like disgusted. And at that moment, the lift had just pulled up. I was so pissed. And he's like, just, think about it. Just think about it. And I get in the lift, and I'm like still in shock. And the driver's like, oh, is that your boyfriend? He's very cute. And I'm like, do not add to this, sir. I am already suffering. Don't you start, sir. Don't fucking start. Don't. I just texted him. I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. Bye. And that's the last guy I like seriously dated, because I was like, I can't handle this. I was also dating women at this time too, but none of the women that I've dated have ever gotten to the level of drama that I've had with men. It was pretty chill, pretty drama free, which I was like, oh, thank God. They were nicer, and I should have just stuck with it, but I ended up dating a man again. I did this one guy who's from New York, and the date, he was just really weird. And we go on a date to Prospect Park, and we're sitting and chatting and having our drinks that he paid for. And I was like, oh, how much do I owe you? And he's like, oh, you don't have to pay me anything. You can just give me a kiss. And I was just like, oh, God, he's one of those. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to get back into cooking. I don't cook much. He's like, how about you? And he was like, oh, I cook. You know what we should do for our next date? I'll give you a recipe and you can cook. And I'm like, what? It was like a pretty crappy date. The vibes are just so off. So I was asking him when his last relationship was. People usually ask. It's not like totally out there. And then I asked him, what does he do for work? And he's like, oh, I don't want to get into that right now. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm not dealing with this again. We were getting ready to walk out of the park so you can drop me at the train station. We passed by this lady running a fruit stand. And she goes, oh God, hi, how are you? Where's your son?
Oh Lord. Again.
He never mentioned he had a son. That would have been nice to know. And immediately, war flashbacks. The fact that he was so dicey about so much of his life, I'm like, I'm not dealing with that again. I did not see this guy a second time. I cut it off. I was like, we're done. We are DONA, because I'm not dealing with this. I don't think things are always going to be this way. I just think it could just be that I'm not in the correct city. Or it just could just be I just don't have the best luck. People who are in like the dating scene right now, I feel for you, because it is rough out there. Especially if you're into men. Good God, you need all the prayers you can get. I think my issue a lot is giving people too much of a chance. If it feels lukewarm, stop waiting for it to get hotter. Get out. Like, I learned a lesson through all those experiences. I mean, you kind of have to, because you don't want to keep making the same mistakes. And I think the biggest lesson was do not settle. If something doesn't feel right, or doesn't feel comfortable, or doesn't feel like home, get out. You can't force things to be better. I mean, it happens when it happens. And once again, you can't force things. So yeah, that's what I learned. That is what I learned. Took a couple tries, because I'm hard-headed, I admit, but I got there. I know this was like a different type of video, but I wanted to do something in quote celebration unquote of Valentine's Day. I figured we'd do something like cute and fun, and hopefully you get like a few laughs and like gasps out of it. If not, if you're just horrified the whole way through, don't worry. Quite a few people have been there. So I will see you guys later. Hopefully you enjoyed any of this at all. If you didn't, that's fair, but still leave a comment. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Don't be a stranger.